Hey guys, my name is Eric, and today we're going to be talking about what are some of the attributes of a combat pistol. Go ahead and roll the intro. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another HatchetCast episode, and today I'm going to be talking about what are some of the attributes of a combat pistol. So before we get started, make sure you hit the like and the subscribe button, and also make sure you share this episode with a friend if you think they would get something out of it. It's a great way to help out the channel. Another cool thing that we started putting on the website is you can actually go out and see the build list that we've been compiling on the website, and it will show you every single part on different types of builds to include some of the pistols that are here. On that build list, you just click that, it's a link, and it sends you right to the site for that part. It's a great way to also support us. We have our affiliates that we use that list through. Another great way is to come and train with us. Make sure you invest in yourself. We can look at gear and guns and talk about this stuff all day, but if you're not going out and getting the reps, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how durable or how fast that gun is if you're not training and investing in yourself. At the end of the day, you are the most important investment and you're worth it. So, make sure you go out and get some training. Now, this is going to be more of a rant through a lot of the things that I've seen in terms of classes, in terms of open gym, running gun sessions, time in the military, some attributes that I saw in a pistol that to me warrant it being what I consider a ruggedized combat effective pistol. So with that being said, these are my opinions. There's obviously a lot of what the military has put out as requirements for a pistol, or what they think of should be a combat pistol. And so that's what we're gonna be talking about. If you are, no matter what type of pistol you're running, don't go out and because of this video, go out and be like, hey, this pistol sucks or whatever. Run what you run. And if you like it, that's the most important thing. And if it's continuing to run and working for you and you're not having a lot of malfunctions and it's not causing any issues, then don't change anything. And don't fix it if it's not even broke. I get a lot of questions about like, which pistol's best? And I'm not sure what to get, or, should I keep running this? And so this is to kind of clear the air, and this is just my opinion about what I think is a good ruggedized pistol. So one of the attributes for a combat pistol for me is going to be able to work in any environment. So right now I've got, for example, I have here is a Glock 45 and it runs 9mm. It's a 19 upper. I have a Roscoe threaded barrel in here, and I have a 17 lower. One thing about Glocks is they are known and have a really long history of being battle tested. They're used by militaries and law enforcement agencies all over the world, and these things are literally tanks. They're the AK of the pistol world. One of the reasons why that they are so reliable is that they don't have a lot of really tight tolerances, and it's extremely simple. So the fact is if it gets really, really cold or really, really wet, or it's really, really humid or really, really dry, this thing will run. Similar to an MMP. This also is a striker-fired pistol. It has a lot of really, not a lot of tight tolerances, so it has a lot of room and wiggle in terms of it has a little bit of wiggle room for some of that dirt and grime to be able to fall out if it does get in there and it doesn't get stuck in those really tight spaces. So having a pistol that can run in any type of environment, in any type of terrain, is super important for me. And whether it's rain or shine, cold or hot, it's gonna run. The other thing that I think a combat pistol should have is the ability to run a red dot. And the reason why I say needs to have the ability to run a red dot is specifically for, running night vision. We have a long history of red dots being very ruggedized. We've got a hollow sun here on this one. I know I'm probably gonna get some hate in the comments for that. But on the MMP, I'm running the Trijicon SRO, the 5mm dot. I actually do a whole review video on this a while back. This MMP 4 1/4 has a Griffin armament threaded barrel with a micro comp on it. Did a review on this a while back, but this has had a lot more rounds put through it since that video, and it is still chugging along, man. It's a tank. I have it's the M&P metal 2.0, so it does have a metal lower and a metal upper, obviously. But one of the things that I really like about this is obviously it comes optic ready. With this Glock 45, I actually had to have it milled out, but it should have where you can run optics. I always like to run passive with my pistols, obviously. And so when you run passive with night vision, it's really, really easy because you're already going to be target fixated with those nods. But having the ability to run passive with your pistol, I think, is really important. Technology has evolved, you know, methods and equipment has evolved, and so should pistols. So I think that every combat ruggedized pistol should have red dot capability. Now, one of the other things I look for in a combat pistol is if it gets dirty, can it still run, to include the magazines. You know, whenever we're at the range, you probably are in a sandy environment or whatever. Whenever you're running your pistol and you do a reload and you drop those mags as you should, and it hits the dirt and it gets some dirt on there, will it still run with a little bit of dirt on the magazine? And that is something that I've seen a lot of guns fail in class. I've seen a lot of guns fail in running gun sessions where just a little bit of dirt gets on a mag or gets inside the gun and the gun just starts to seize up and have malfunctions or failure to feeds or failure to extract, and all of a sudden you've got all these problems and then a really frustrated shooter as well at the end. So, you know, with the Glocks and with the M&P 2.0, I'm pretty sure there's a ton of other pistols out there. You know, Beretta, when I ran the M9 back in the military, never had issues with mags that were dirty and still being able to run reliably. So making sure that, you know, for me, whenever I'm looking at a good pistol that's ruggedized for combat, I'm looking at what's its ability to be able to run reliably in a dirty environment, especially one that has a lot of dirt, sand, can run with dirty mags, can run with dirty ammo. And with that also, my pistol should be able to run whatever ammo I want. Now, mind you, whenever it comes to a combat style pistol, you know, you're not going to have a lot of those race gun type qualities. You can build them out to be race gun quality, but understand that a lot of the stock triggers and the stock springs and things of that nature is to ensure that the pistol runs reliably. So for me, I've never run any modified triggers in any of my Glocks or my M&P. I run the standard, you know, the standard springs. I don't change anything out. So these are all bone stock parts inside of here, outside of the threaded barrels from Roscoe and Griffin Armament. So for me, I like to run the thing stock just because of reliability being a huge issue. Whenever I squeeze the trigger, I want it to go bang, and I also don't want it to be really finicky on ammo. One, because I'm cheap and I can't afford, you know, I spend a lot of money on ammo and I don't like spending money on expensive ammo and get less of it. I'd rather have cheaper ammo and more of it so I can shoot more. And so I want my guns to eat whatever I stick through it. You know, I've seen some pistols, if it's not a ruggedized pistol, it's meant for speed. Sometimes they have a very specific appetite in terms of what they like. So, you know, it's great for competition, but for me, in my opinion, I think that, you know, your pistol should be able to run whatever you put through it. If you find some battlefield pickup on the ground, can it run that ammo? Is it going to be finicky? Can it handle it? You know, if you drop your mag in the dirt and you put it back, you wipe it off real quick and throw it inside the gun, will it still run? These are things that I'm looking for when it comes to my pistol selection as far as a combat pistol is concerned. The other thing I look for is going to be also my maintenance. Is it really easy to take apart? For the M&P and for the Glock, they're both extremely easy to take apart and clean. You know, when you're out in the field, I don't have the ability sometimes to have access to a bunch of cleaning kit tools and all that type of stuff. It's good to have a cleaning kit, but sometimes, you know, I might just have a Leatherman and that's all I got. So having the ability to clean and maintain my pistol in the field is super important for me. I want to be able to clean it out really quick. You know, I don't put a lot of lube on my pistols. In fact, if you talk to Roy back in the day, he'd be like, don't ever lube a Glock. But, you know, you shouldn't have to really highly maintain and make sure it's white glove clean. But I want to have it where it's kind of wiped some of that grime and that dirt off and it can run. I actually did a test on my M&P before it got re-cerakoted where I wasn't cleaning it. I was just running it and seeing how long it would last. And it got into the thousands of rounds and it was just getting really nasty and it just kept going. And eventually I just got bored with it and just said, hey, I need to re-cerakote this thing because it's looking pretty haggard. And it still runs like a champ. So same thing with this Glock. You know, this thing has had thousands of rounds through it and it still runs. The only thing that I might need to replace eventually is some of the springs on the inside, but outside of that, everything on this is still running really, really well. Something that I do look for as an upgrade for a combat pistol is a threaded barrel if it doesn't already have one. Having the ability to add a suppressor is really nice. A cool side effect is you can also add like comps and stuff like that. But, you know, with the Roscoe threaded barrel for this Glock and the Griffin Armament threaded barrel that has the micro comp for the M&P, they've both done really, really well. Very, very accurate, but I do enjoy having a threaded barrel. You might as well, it doesn't really do anything in terms of take away from the pistol's capability. It just adds the capability for you to run a suppressor, and that's just my personal preference, but I like to have a threaded barrel with a combat pistol. One thing also that is a high point of debate when it comes to military pistols specifically is, in my opinion, the pistol should be drop safe. You know, in law enforcement, you might have a lot of times, unless you're like in Border Patrol or something of that nature, or maybe FWC, you know, that gun is an urban city or an urban type gun. You're in a vehicle, you're out of a vehicle, you might get into an environment where the gun may get dirty. But for your military guys, for your warrior citizens, your Minutemen type guys, you're going to want to make sure you have a pistol that's ruggedized, because you may be going in the woods and sleeping out there for a long time, or getting dirty, or getting muddy, or it rains. You know, you're in the elements. So one of the things that I do look for is making sure that it is also drop safe. If this thing comes out of my holster and drops on the ground, I want to be able to pick it up without the fear of it possibly going off. You know, and that's why having those stock triggers in there, or really reliable and tried and true upgraded triggers, is super important. I don't think slapping any trigger in there, you know, go with a really good company, or go with the manufacturer's upgraded trigger, is something that I would highly recommend because of reliability and also because of it being drop safe. So, you know, for me, I understand for competition type guns, you know, they're not going to be drop safe. They're really not, because you're trying to shorten up that trigger pull, that you're trying to shorten up that trigger reset. You want that gun to run really, really fast. So with that, everything has a pro and a con. Everything has a give and a take. You know, you can't expect to have everything. At least technology's not there yet until we get laser blasters. But, you know, for me, I like to keep everything bone stock, because specifically I'm looking for reliability. And also I want to make sure that this thing doesn't go off when I drop the gun. So remember, as a disclaimer, if you start swapping parts out on these types of pistols, there is a high possibility that it could not be drop safe anymore. One of the things is, there's a company that I used for a trigger upgrade for my Glock. This is years and years ago. And I go to shoot it, and I'm letting it reset, and it turned, you know, shot off more rounds than I was expecting. I immediately took that trigger out and put a bone stock trigger back in there, because I was like, I'm never letting that happen again. I want to make sure that I'm in control, and the gun goes off when I want it to, not when a circumstance causes it to go off outside of my intention. The other thing also that I look for in a combat style pistol is the ability to hold a light. Now, this is something that a lot of people, you know, my buddy Ben from Wiseman Company, he loves running a gun with no light. You know, you can argue in the comments about why you need a light or why you don't need a light. For me, I like to run a light. I think you should do what you enjoy doing. I like the balance. I just like having on there. I like the aesthetics. I like the ability. I like the capability. And it's just nice. So having the ability for me to have a rail so I can run a light like a Surefire X300 or a, you know, a Streamlight TLR1, those are things that I look for within a ruggedized pistol. On the Glock, I am running the Surefire X300 Vampire light, because I do have IR capability on here for shooting night vision, and I'm running the 507 Holosun Dot. This thing has been a tank. It's 507 Charlie. It's a Gen 2, and it's worn out, but still runs. On the M&P, I am running a Surefire X300 Ultra and running the Trijicon SRO 5 MOA dot. Love big dots, easy to see, easy to pick up, and I've been running it so much that the housing's actually wearing down on top. So this thing hasn't failed me yet. One of the things that I do like about the M&P over the Glock, though, is the fact that the aggressive grip texture on here is you have swappable grip modules, and it has really aggressive grip texture. On the Glocks, you have to add like sandpaper type material or like a skateboard, skate deck grip tape, or stipple it or do something to be able to add some sort of grip texture. So for me, I like having the M&P's grip. Now, when it comes to your, a pistol, this is just something that I like. It's not necessarily a combat or a ruggedized type of feature, but having an ambidextrous slide lock is important for me because I'm left-handed. I'm a southpaw for life. And so having that is really, really nice. And also not a massive mag funnel. I obviously have a mag well on my M&P, but it doesn't have to be massive, just a little bit. That'll be enough for me. But as far as my pistols, the biggest thing when it comes to them is I enjoy having a reliable, ruggedized pistol that will work in any environment, no matter how dirty the environment is, or whether it's dry, hot, cold, wet, it will still run. So what type of pistol should you run? Depending on what you're looking to do is going to determine what kind of pistol you decide to get. For me, I like to do a lot more shooting in environments where it's really dirty, so reliability is going to be huge for me. For somebody else, it might be something else. So look at what your plans are, what your goals are, what you're looking to get out of the gun, and that will help you dictate what type of pistol you should buy. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. There's a ton of people who would love to answer your questions if you are looking into getting a pistol. If you're curious about the M&P 2.0 metal, it is still running strong. I did a really in-depth video on this a few videos back, so you can go check it out. And I enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorite pistols. That kind of makes me think about a story that I was actually reading in the book Imagine Heaven by Pastor John Burke, and it's a really good story, so I'm going to go ahead and read it with you. And the chapter begins with Uniquely Loved. When Dr. George Ritchie had his life review, so Dr. George Ritchie had actually passed away and had a life review with Jesus, this matter became evident. Every detail of 20 years of living was there to be looked at. The good, the bad, the high points, the run-of-the-mill. And with this all-inclusive view came a question. It was implicit in every scene, and like the scenes themselves, seemed to proceed from the living light beside me. What did you do with your life? It was obviously not a question in the sense that he was seeking information for what I had done. With my life was in plain view. Hadn't I ever gone beyond my own immediate interests? Done anything other people would recognize as valuable? At last, I located it. The proudest moment of my life. I became an Eagle Scout. Again, words seemed to emanate from the presence beside me. That glorified you. I saw myself walking forward at a church service at age 11, asking Jesus to be my Lord of my life. But I saw how quickly the first excitement turned into a dull routine of church on Sunday. I started to point out my pre-med courses, how I was going to be a doctor and help people. But visible alongside the classroom scenes was that Cadillac car and that private airplane, thoughts as observable as actions in that all-pervading light. And all at once, rage at the question itself built up in me. It was not fair. Of course I had not done anything with my life. I had not had time. How could you judge a person who had not started? The answering thought, however, held no trace of judgment. Death, the word was infinitely loving, can come at any age. George thought about the insurance policy he had taken out with the military, guaranteeing him money at age 70. Before he could pull the thought back, it was out in the open. If he wondered if the Lord had a sense of humor, now he found out. The brightness seemed to vibrate and shimmer with a kind of holy laughter, not at me and my silliness, not a mocking laughter, but a mirth that seemed to say that in spite of all error and tragedy, joy was more lasting still. And in the ecstasy of that laughter, I realized that it was I who was judging the events around us so harshly. It was I who saw them as trivial, self-centered, unimportant. No such condemnation came from the glory shining around me. He was not blaming or reproaching. He was simply loving me, filling the world with himself and yet somehow attending to me personally. What have you done with your life to show me? Already I understood that in my first frantic efforts to come up with an impressive answer, I had missed the point altogether. He was not asking about accomplishments and awards. The question, like everything else proceeding from him, had to do with love. How much have you loved with your life? Have you loved others as I am loving you? Totally, unconditionally. this makes me think about my life and what I'm doing with it to love other people unconditionally. You know, I do these videos because I enjoy shooting, I enjoy training, I love this industry, I love this community, and I do it to you know, one, because my pure enjoyment, and I literally talk about it 24/7, but also I enjoy seeing people grow and seeing people get passionate and having fun and getting excited about things. But I also understand, because I have changed my viewpoint, that my identity can't be wrapped up in this. And you know, I used to do a lot of this for my own satisfaction and my own glorification and my own ego, you know, and a lot of that has changed. I look at the channel as now an opportunity to love on other people. You know, I've had the incredible opportunity to meet a lot of you guys in classes, and to tell my story in that class, and to see some of the things that we go through and some of the things that you guys have talked to me about that are just some of life's most challenging chapters. It really does show me how much people in this world need the love of God. And you know, my goal with this channel, my goal with the company, is to utilize the company for the Lord to love people and to love you. You know, the world is really good at telling you that you're not important, that you're just a number, telling you that you're insignificant, that the world's overpopulated, that life is whatever, you know, and that's just so not true. Like, you are so important. God created you to be His masterpiece. And sin has kind of corrupted us, but He is like, hey, I'm going to work to make you the masterpiece, so that way you can be used to love other people, and that I will be able to love other people through you because of your kindness and your unconditional love. And that's what having a relationship with the Lord is like. It's learning to love. And Jesus is the definition and the actual epitome of what love is. You know, He has changed my life. He has loved me even though I have abandoned Him. I've cast Him aside. I said, I don't want anything to do with you, but He never gave up on me. And, you know, the love that has overwhelmed me has helped me to become a better father, to also have a newfound love for other people that I've never had before. And I truly find myself like, man, I genuinely care about people, and I've never had that. And it's not me. It's not by my own power, my own will. That's the Lord doing that through me. And so He can do that for you. If you're going through a really hard time, you're going through a really tough chapter, even if you're a Christian and you're a believer in Him, understand you're not alone. I have had times where I think, like, God, you're all the way in heaven. You're on a long distance call on dial-up, and if I don't pray hard enough, or enough people don't pray, that maybe you won't hear me. And that's not, you know, that's couldn't be further from the truth. God is here with us. His presence is with us, and He's sitting right next to you as you're watching this video. Probably He's sitting right next to me as we're talking to the camera. You know, just loving on all of us and saying, come to me and I can take your burdens, and I can fill you with joy whenever you're depressed or the world is telling you you're not significant. I'm telling you that you are my masterpiece, and I love you, and I created you, and it says that you were beautifully and wonderfully made, and you are not just another number, but you are so special, and God cares about you so much, and so do I. And so if you are curious about what that love is like with Jesus, email me at team@barrelhatchet.com. I'd love to talk to you. If you have a prayer request and you're going through a hard time, whether you're a believer or not a believer, or if you're just, you know, really going through a hard time, need someone to talk to, comment below. There's tons of people down there who would love to talk to you. And also, if you are a Christian and you see a prayer request, pray for somebody that's in the comment section. It's, you know, with all the tragic, you know, hurricanes and stuff we've had, it's incredible to see other people coming together to look out for their fellow man and do things out of the kindness of their own heart. And that's what we need more of. You know, the world is constantly trying to divide us apart and tell us that all these people are bad, or, you know, start a war over here and conflict over there. In reality, we need to start looking past our differences and loving each other and being there for each other. And so, you know, with that, understand, stick by your morals, but also love people unconditionally and see, maybe, have some understanding about what someone's going through. Maybe they are the way they are, or maybe a little bit rough around the edges because they've been hurt so badly in life. We don't know what we're going through, but one thing we can do and one thing that we can control is how we treat other people and how we love them. So guys, make sure you go out, train to be the eternal asset. My name is Eric, and I'll see you on the next one.